her grandmother and her aunt's middle name together. And my middle name is the same as my grandma. So that's something that I want to continue to pass on. But I would definitely, if I don't know, if God shakes up my life enough for there to be a third, I don't think there will. No, I'm done. But if that happens, I definitely think that I would name it something super traditional, like
Keep telling
Joseph.
God what you're not going to do. Watch
I
He
know.
bless you with three.
Mike, let me be on quiet.
Keep it cute
Keep
and put it
saying
on
you're
mute.
not.
Right now, we slid home this month, so I'm good. Anyhow.
That monthly reminder, like, yes, I made it.
Woo!
At least we have
High
something to
five.
celebrate during Corona. So there is that.
Here I go.
So I
Being
guess we
risky.
can go ahead and move on to Candidly Culture, where we discuss our topic of the week. So this week, we are just going to dive right into the best thing I never had. So I feel like that can be taken a variety of ways. And I think that we're
Absolutely.
going to touch on multiple topics, right? Professionally, but also personally. I think that when you're a kid, you envision your life being a very specific way, be it if your parents cultivated you to want to follow in their footsteps, or sometimes it's just to take a different path than they did. And then along the way, our friends, our environment, just our own thoughts and concepts of what we see for ourselves change over time.
Yep.
So I think we want to talk about what we envision for ourselves as children, both personally and professionally, and then how we wound up as adults, and then kind of see what nuances there are now, and maybe how far off we are, and maybe the journey too that got us here.
Yeah.
Toya, you want to start?
Of course. So for me growing up, if I can talk about maybe uh I think when people ask me, at a very young age, what do you want to be when you grow up? Which is unfair because what I don't even know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. But it was like, oh, I want to be a lawyer and I wanted to be a criminal attorney, which was fine. And then I went to school. My bachelor's degree was in criminal justice. My first master's was in criminology. And I started to work in social services a bit, and it just wasn't for me. Like, it was like, okay, I knew I had to take a backpedal as far as law school was concerned because I had my son 2 months after I graduated from undergrad. So like I walked pregnant. I looked like I was smuggling Osama bin Laden under my
Stop.
gown. Like it was it was my 22nd birthday. I graduated on my 22nd birthday, and I was very, very excited. All of my friends were excited, and I kept screaming, "It's my birthday! I don't care." Guess who our keynote speaker was?
Who?
Uncle Joey. Joe Biden was our keynote speaker, and
Uncle
yeah,
Joe.
Uncle Joey was our keynote speaker, and I was huge, ankles swollen, face booming, like it was crazy. And then my son was born in July, so I had to take a step back from law school, and I just started to work in social services. So I worked as an in-home protective services case manager, and we worked under Philadelphia's Department of Home of whatever DHS is. That's a shame that I don't know. The Department of Human Services, yes. So when people had protective orders and their children needed extra attention because their parenting skills were brought into question, I, as a 22-year-old, was tasked with going into their home on a twice a week basis or 3 times a week basis, depending on their level of need, and telling these women and these men what they need to do for their children. Now, here I am on the brink of 36 and I still get questioned about my age. Could you imagine how I looked at 22? And they're like,
Right.
who are you to tell me anything? It was a lot. One family, I ended up with fleas from being in their house. Like that was crazy. Another family, like I literally physically saw the stepdad in the back like smoking crack, and I was like, yeah, this isn't okay for me.
Yikes.
Like it was heavy.
Yes.
So
Right.
I took a step back from social services, and I'm like, all right, so I know I still want to be in the legal field. And I got my paralegal certificate, and I started working in a law firm that specialized in bankruptcy and foreclosure. And that was kind of it's during the housing crisis in 2007, 2008. So business was extremely lucrative, but it
Right.
was stressful also because at the same time I'm trying to go to the mediations with the attorneys in my role, and still there are people who are losing their homes, and I'm being blamed for it because we worked on behalf of the banks. So it's like, you're taking my house from me. I'm being cussed out daily. So I'm like, I'm tired of getting cussed out. Like, I got cussed out by these people in their house, and now I'm getting cussed out over here. Like, it was a lot. Um, and from my skills there, that's when I was able to transition into healthcare, still being in a legal aspect. I moved into working at a hospital as a paralegal in the risk management department, and then I would transition into contracts, which that's what I do. I'm telling y'all too much of my life, but yes, that's what I do now in the in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm a contract negotiator, and yeah, that's what I do. But I had my mind set on being a criminal attorney. And even thinking now today about all the things that are happening in the prisons and in Philadelphia, the heavy reformation is that's happening for people who have had things go on in their lives as juveniles, and how that carries on, and they're continually being set back because of small infractions. And we see, our ambassador of criminal lifestyle, Meek Mill, and he's trying to he's trying to change things and be a voice to that alongside of Jay-Z, and it's important. But I don't know if I'm right now, I'm not built for that. So were I in that role that I envisioned myself to be in? No. But I always knew I wanted to be in a position where I would be giving back to someone's quality of life, so somebody could do better. So in my role now, I know, working in healthcare and now transitioning into pharmaceuticals, all the contracts that I'm negotiating, every partnership that we have, all the customers that I'm responsible for their product line, I'm still providing someone a better quality of life, because people need medication, people need healthcare services, people need access to the things that they may not think they're able to have. And a lot of folks don't get that there are organizations out there that will set you up to get the care you need without you having to die just because you're considered less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And aside for that, just because I know that pharmaceutical is considered, quote, big pharma, and is a bad guy in a lot of conversations, I do work with, God damn, the Urban League.
But we can only get a picture of your watch, but you're telling the whole life story right now.
You're finna Google the shit out of me.
All up on your LinkedIn.
Anyway, yeah, so I do work with the Urban League because that's a heart space for me. I know for sure that me being a part of that, and me doing work, and me, touching shoulders with people who are in the movement is important. So albeit what I thought I would be and who I plan to be, I'm different. My industry is different. My job title is different.
Mm-hmm.
The root of what I wanted to give out into the world, I'm still doing it. And I feel like a lot of times we aren't we aren't, as children and as young adults, as adolescents, we aren't given the space to figure out what it is. It's just like, give me the end result, not necessarily why you want to get to the end result. Adults are expecting us, and that's counselors, parents, and whomever may be guiding you. They're expecting you to have the end result, but not really give you a blueprint or a roadmap or ask you why that's important to you. Those are conversations that I'm having with people who look up to me, and the young kids at my church, and my children in particular. Make sure you're figuring out why. And last Sunday, we did a Zoom brunch with. Even though I say I'm an orphan, I do have a mother. Yeah, she's
You are so
with my mother, and I have sisters. My my sister that lives here in Philly, and she's the youngest of the bunch, and she'll be 30. Well, she just turned 30 2 days ago, and she's figuring it out. And she's been industry hopping. I know she won't. I mean, nobody can figure out who she is, not for my social media. No. So she's been industry hopping as of late, trying to figure out where to go. And I had to really tell her, I was like, if you're just hopping around from industry to industry trying to find more money, you're going to do that for a really long time. You have to figure out how much you're into it. So the latest thing she wants to transition to, I'm like, girl, are you really into that? Because I couldn't imagine doing that every single day. You've never even mentioned that you would want to do that every day. So where did it come from? And I think it's like the lure of the money and the
Mm-hmm.
of the salary amount. But if you hate it, you only gonna be in there for a little while, and then
Right.
you're gonna try to find something else. So I think more of the conversation, and we spoke about conversations that need to be had as far as women, and we need to be taught to negotiate further as people on a full scale, as humans on a full scale. We need to make sure we're having the conversations about, you know, your life's work. What do you want to
Mm-hmm.
behind? When people say, oh, I know such and such, what do you want them to know you for? It could be in different rooms and different conversations, but they still should be able to come down to a common denominator about what you're representing and what you're known for.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of, you know, the best thing I never had, glad I'm not a criminal attorney, and my current industry and position is pays a lot better than a criminal attorney, but I know still the mission behind why I wanted to do that was to help folks who didn't think that they could rise above or be in
Mm-hmm.
a better position. I still feel like every day, every time I'm going back and forth with a different organization, different company over something as little as maybe 25 cents on pricing for a drug. Uh, Coming out on top or coming out, you know, on the other side and letting them have that. I'm like, all right, well, our end goal is to make sure whoever needs this medication is somebody's mom or pop needs
Mm-hmm.
this to survive, and they're going to be able to be around longer. So that's important to me.
I think it's good because
Awesome.
even though it's not necessarily the same path, you still get the same type of fulfillment from it.
Yep.
So, I mean, the path less traveled, but who knows? Who knows how much good comes just from having you be here to negotiate those sorts of things? Because we know that there is no affordable healthcare. It's
No.
just people making it as far as they can. And because even with insurance, we see the bills of how expensive some of those things still are. I know, for instance, I got the flu like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I went to go get the Tamiflu, and she said $100. I said, oh, I have insurance. She said, yeah, with the insurance it was $100. Y'all are nuts. I'm gonna still get the medicine, but can you imagine being in a situation where you
Where you
you
don't have
didn't have
insurance.
$100 to be able to spend on the Tamiflu? Now you just gotta wing it. So you're still doing great work. So that's good.
It's tough, and if you that's a good example, because if you also think about people with not flu but like more intense illnesses, like people who have
Diabetes.
Yeah.
HIV. Like no, like
Mm-hmm.
you know the HIV bro, the bull who bought it, and he makes it so expensive for people even who have insurance. I've heard
Mm-hmm.
people talk about their copay for their HIV medicine being like $600. I'm like, first of all,
That's
how
crazy.
much does it cost then? Like, whoa. And I was most recently in FedEx at the beginning of all this. And when I transitioned into this job, I had to go pick up my laptop because I wasn't here when they dropped it off for my new job. So I had to go. And this man, he kept coming in and out. He was like, well, it's nothing I can do. My address isn't on there. And his nephew was, you know, trying to speak to the person in FedEx on his behalf. He was like, he needs that medication. That's his HIV medicine. Okay, first of all, there are 7 people in here.
Right.
You didn't have to tell his business, but
Right.
like, damn, get that nigga his medicine. Like, but I understood she had certain protocols she had to adhere to for her
Mm-hmm.
job's sake. And she did give him some really beneficial information. She said, you know, call the company and have them reroute it. We'll send it back, and then they'll reroute it to the address that's on your license. But for him to have it mail order, I think that probably must have been cheaper than him having to go to a CVS or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because even on this side of it, I know that we have different partners in my organization where there are wholesalers, and then we provide our drugs to retailers. The prices are different, absolutely, and the range is insane. So for someone like him to be standing there on a Saturday morning, like, I just need my medication. I hope that wasn't like he was missing a dosage or anything. Like,
Right.
Right.
you know, I think we veered off in a space that did. So I'm done.
No, but I mean, it's still an important conversation depending on who's listening. You might learn a few things and, you know, get a little insight. So still.
I'm the only one drinking. Yeah.
All right, Jen, what you got? Go ahead.
Okay, so the best thing I never had. So my career choice when I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher. I was that kid that, had